250 million years ago, the world was a silent graveyard. The Permian extinction, the greatest mass dying our planet has ever witnessed, had just ended. It was an apocalypse of fire and poison that wiped out nearly everything. 90% of all species gone. Forests were reduced to ash. Oceans became toxic, and the very air was a scorching, suffocating blanket. For a moment in deep time, it seemed like Earth itself had given up. But life is stubborn. It clings on, claws its way back from the very edge of annihilation. And here, in the ashes of a dead world, something new was about to begin. This wasn't the age of dinosaurs. This was the dawn, before, the dinosaurs. The world they inherited was a brutal, broken place. All the continents had fused together to form one colossal landmass, Pangaea, a supercontinent stretching from pole to pole. Its heart was a vast, scorching desert, baked lifeless by an unrelenting sun. Along its coasts, extreme monsoon seasons brought devastating floods that carved rivers through the plains, only for them to vanish just as quickly. Volcanoes constantly tore through the Earth's crust, spewing fire and ash, turning the skies a blood-red haze. This was no paradise. It was a crucible, a trial by fire, and only the toughest of the tough could possibly survive it. Out of this chaos, a new dynasty of reptiles arose. They weren't dinosaurs yet, but they were the ancestors, the blueprint for what was to come. They were different, with strong, straight legs tucked directly beneath their bodies. They could move faster and more efficiently than any creature before them. Among the first of these new rulers was the terrifying Erythrosaurus. Imagine a crocodile on steroids, nearly 16 feet long, with a head that took up a quarter of its body length. Its massive jaws were lined with serrated, dagger-like teeth, and it could crush bone with terrifying force. It was one of the planet's first true apex predators. But even the mightiest hunter needs something to hunt. And so, the land gave rise to another survivor, one of the most unlikely heroes in the history of life, the Lystrosaurus. If you looked at a Lystrosaurus, you wouldn't be impressed. It was squat, about 3 feet long, with a pig-like body, a beaked face, and 2 tusks sticking down from its upper jaw. It looked, well, kind of goofy. But what this creature lacked in looks, it made up for with sheer, unbelievable resilience. In the aftermath of the extinction, Lystrosaurus didn't just survive. It thrived. In some parts of the world, these animals made up over 90% of all land vertebrates. They were everywhere. They moved in massive herds, digging burrows to escape the heat and trampling the muddy floodplains as they grazed on tough, scraggly plants. It wasn't their strength or ferocity that made them the kings of this new age. It was their stubborn refusal to die. They were the ultimate survivors. While life on land was slowly, painfully, clawing its way back, the oceans were still in a state of crisis. The same catastrophe that scorched the continents had choked the seas, stripping them of oxygen. Vast stretches of the deep ocean became anoxic dead zones. The vibrant coral reefs of the Permian period were gone, reduced to rubble. Countless species of fish, ammonites, and other marine life had vanished forever. But even in these poisoned waters, new life was stirring. Sleek, serpent-like reptiles called nothosaurs began to patrol the shallow coastal waters. They used their paddle-like limbs and long, toothy snouts to hunt fish, becoming some of the first marine reptiles to reclaim the seas. In the murky depths, other reptilian ancestors were experimenting, adapting, laying the groundwork for the colossal sea monsters that would one day rule the oceans. The seas were dangerous and unstable, but the comeback had begun. This early Triassic world was a constant, brutal struggle for supremacy. Life was a relentless cycle of predator and prey. Apex hunters like erythrocetes stalked the floodplains, using their size and power to ambush the seemingly endless herds of Lystrosaurus. A single, well-placed bite from those crushing jaws could end a hunt in seconds. But the prey fought back, not with claws or armor, but with numbers. A stampeding herd of Lystrosaurus could trample a smaller predator into the mud, a chaotic, unstoppable force of flesh and bone. Many Lystrosaurus also dug complex burrows, creating a subterranean network of tunnels where they could hide from the dangers above. Ultimately, their greatest defense was their sheer rate of reproduction. They simply outbred and outlasted their enemies. The balance of power was incredibly delicate, a daily battle won and lost in blood, tooth, and claw. But the struggle between animals was only half the story. The greatest enemy for all life during this time was the planet itself. The vast, continent-sized deserts of central Pangaea created extreme, arid conditions, where water was the most precious resource. Violent, unpredictable storms could trigger flash floods, capable of drowning entire herds in an instant. And the ever-present threat of volcanic eruptions could poison the air and cloak the landscape in a thick blanket of ash, choking out plants and starving the animals that depended on them. Life in the early Triassic was a relentless trial by fire. Creatures had to adapt or perish. Those that failed vanished into extinction. But those that endured grew stronger, more resilient, and more sophisticated. The world was testing its children, and in doing so, it was forging the next chapter of life. And hidden in the shadows of this harsh world, something truly new was beginning to stir. Scurrying through the undergrowth, almost entirely unnoticed, were the first true dinosaurs. These were not the giants of Jurassic Park. They were small, nimble creatures like Eoraptor, no bigger than a modern-day dog. They were swift, two-legged hunters, darting between the legs of the much larger archosaurs and Lystrosaurs herds, preying on insects and small lizards. In their time, they were insignificant, a minor player in a world dominated by bigger, tougher animals. No one could have possibly guessed that these small, fragile-looking reptiles were the heirs to the planet, that from these humble beginnings an empire of titans would rise, an empire that would rule the earth for over 150 million years. For now, they simply survived, waiting in the wings. But their time was coming. 250 million years ago, our world began again. It was a violent, chaotic world, born from the ashes of the greatest dying. A world of scorching heat and furious storms. A world defined by the brutal struggle between predator and prey. It was a planet scarred by death, but brimming with the unstoppable promise of new life. The dinosaurs had not yet taken the stage, but the scene was set. The world was ready. And from the ruins of the Permian extinction, the age of giants was about to rise. Thanks for joining us on this journey back to the dawn before dinosaurs. If you enjoyed this glimpse into our planet's incredible past, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more adventures into deep time. We'll see you on the next one.